Hello everyone and welcome back to Berserk and the Band of the Hawk. So, in this one we're going to continue the Endless Eclipse mode and I'm gonna show you what off-screen I did in the Enchanting and Amalgamation screen. Yeah, the second layer. And we're gonna talk, well, we have to talk a lot about what happened just now. And one of my comments beneath the video, when I was replying to one of Juan's comments, I made a little mistake because I mixed up names of two characters, because yeah, a lot of time went by since I've read on Berserk, and yeah, and it was a hectic week, so I kinda jumbled up some information, and I replied to myself there, but I'll also talk about that a bit in this one. So yeah, we did Zodd's quest. But anywho, let's see what this is all about, and let's go to the shop and I'll show you what I made. Okay, nothing that interesting, but let's buy the attack up. At least. Oh, and this one. We have a lot of money, so okay, so as you can see, I bumped up all the skills on all three of my accessories that I use. And this one went quite well with the defense up 75. And others quite well also. Let's use this. Let's use this. Well, I wanna save some. Especially with the level 5s and something, cause yeah, I want to actually use them. Maybe not this one. Sorry, I needed to sneeze. Well, maybe not that one. To make a different third accessory, and I'll tell you why. Because the skills you see on the right side, they go to level 99, and I have some skills that are doubled in two accessories. So I wanna make some. Whatchamacallit, I wanna make some... I wanna make it so that I won't have... I'm gonna show you, so I won't have duplicates, like I have attack up here and attack up here, and for now it's okay, because they stack, but later on, when I get to 99 on something, I wanna change one, so that I won't have more attack than I need to, and can stack. And preferably I will do one that gives me stun resistance and maybe also stun, inflicting stun increase on my attacks. So yeah, we'll need to think about the third one. I don't have a good base for now for the third one, so I'm gonna hold off on that. And yeah, we'll start now. And first things first, I think I will start, before we go to the story bits, I will start with... Okay, so we gotta fight Zodd again. Wait a second, did I pick the wrong outfit for Guts? He has his hand, and that means I don't have any sidearms. That's bad. Because I wanted to have at least the throwing knives, and I do not have that. Wait a second. No, don't... Yes, wait a second, I need to check this out. Again, sorry for the false start. Outfits. He has the hand here. Yeah, thought as much. So that was a false start. I want this because we get the cannon and other stuff with it, so let's not handicap ourselves if we don't have to. Okay, everything's good here. Everything seems to be good here, so let's try it again. So, I'm gonna start, before I talk about the story stuff, about the eclipse and other things. I will start with correcting the misunderstanding that I had. So in the Eclipse video, one was talking about the God Hand, And yeah, he was right, and I was... in some cases. I don't know about the one that the God Hand has more members, because that doesn't seem to be the case, in my understanding from the manga. Because in time, and we also see that later in the manga when Guts has flashbacks because of the Berserker armor, which retains some memories of its previous owner, he saw an ancient God Hand, and there were still 5 members, so we can assume that at max the God Hand has 5 members, or maybe if there are more, there are special conditions for that, but history has shown that there are one time are 5 members, so we'll go by that. Okay, here I'll first charge my death blow, and then I'll execute it. Okay. So, dang it. Oh, no, I actually did slash him. And the mission is done. Okay. So, yeah. I was talking about Void, and I mixed it up. I said that his real name was Conrad, and that's not true, because Conrad is another member of the God Hand. He's that little guy that frequently is shown that has his arms crossed like for a prayer, and has that weird opened face, like sort of a little beaky Instagram face he makes. So yeah, that's Conrad. And as for Void, yeah, I was half right, because I messed up the name, but he also does have a historic real figure. He was, because every member of the God Hand was human at some point. They just made an offering during their own eclipse. And Void seems to be someone that's not bound, but someone that's tied to King Gesserit, which is an ancient king who made a really big empire, was a conqueror, and Void probably was a wise man slash sage or druid that King Gesserit caught and tortured. And from what we see about his appearance, the whole uncovered brain and other things, that seems to check out. And also he was a very ancient God Hand member, even in memories, so yeah, all seems to check out, at least for now. So that's what I was talking about. I just messed up the names. So that's the clarification I was going to make. And then, well, also that's just speculation. There's nowhere said in the manga that it's like that. So, yeah. But speculating here in the Berserk world is quite interesting. There are a lot of theories about God Hand, Skull Knight, and other things. So yeah, if you have your own, might as well post them beneath the videos. They make for an interesting read, and many of you have very interesting information to post, so yeah, kinda interested. We've heard or read about one stake on it, and it was also quite interesting with all the cardinal sins and all. And yeah, you can trace some cardinal sins with the God Hand, like with Slan and the other members. They do represent some traits of that, I agree. They are tied to that, definitely. They're also tied to some Buddhism stuff, depending on the member of the God Hand. So yeah, there's a lot of things. The God Hand are actually done very good. Yeah. So maybe we'll go and talk about the stuff that happened, because a lot of things happened. And mainly it was the Eclipse, which is a world-changing event. And there was also one thing I was wrong in one video, and that was post-Eclipse video 1, where Guts ended up in the cave with Casca. I said that the worlds merge. That is wrong. The worlds do merge, but not due to the Eclipse. It's a bit later, due to other circumstances, we should say, but I won't spoil them now. It's another substantial event that takes place in the world, and I think in this game we will actually take part in that event. I think we should. The story should go that far. We'll take part in that event, and after that event the worlds merge. This time not. I thought that because of what the Skull Knight, I think, said, but it has a different meaning. I just made the facts, well, I mixed up the facts. And what he was talking about was the consequence of the brand of sacrifice. And I will talk about that in a bit, because I want to go from the beginning, so it has logical sense at least, not just jumping from topic to topic. And as we can see, we're doing quite better now that I've pumped up the stats a bit. At least we're seemingly not taking in so much damage. Okay, I'm gonna take the camera off from focusing so I can pump my death blow up and use the death blow. Yeah, seems nice. So, starting from the beginning, we should talk... Sorry, and I'm maybe a little bit cold right now. I have a cold right now, so maybe I'm kinda sneezing a bit and have a runny nose, so bear with me, please. So, from the beginning, I think we should start with the Eclipse itself. So, basically, as you got during the story, we rescued Griffith, and it was, I think, in the manga it said that it was a year. He was tortured for a whole year, so we saved him after a year of torturing, which basically means his body was completely broken. And as we saw from the cutscene, someone said, I think it was Judo, that his tendons are cut, and he's basically unable to even stand and lead. He was basically sitting all the time, and as you can imagine, for someone like Griffith, that's kind of like a death sentence in itself. So, yeah, during all the things that happened, seeing Guts returned and Guts and Casca getting to know each other better, and probably he saw that Casca is falling in love with Guts, and Griffith was not taking it that well. And I think even before the Eclipse, he tried something on Casca, tried to manipulate her, but it didn't work right, so... yeah. I don't think Griffith is used to his plans being foiled. Anywho. Yeah, continuing on, the Eclipse itself. So, as I said in one of the previous videos, the Crimson Behelit comes to the act here. Because, as you remember, in the fight with Zodd, we unfortunately didn't see that cutscene, but I was talking about it in the Eclipse video, and Zodd did not finish Griffith and Guts, and he could have. He was winning the fight, basically. They didn't stand a chance against an apostle so strong and ancient like Zodd, but he saw that Crimson Behelit... Oh, speaking of Zodd, Crimson Behelit on Griffith's... neck, and Zodd knows what the Crimson Behelit means, so he was sure that he needs to leave Griffith alone, because, well, let's just say more important events are on the horizon for Griffith than falling in a battle with him. Whoa, easy there, man. No, I don't need any... No, I will get the throwing knives out, because they're quite nice, easy there for stopping them in their tracks. Kind of like a little, yeah, stun. Okay, bad charge attack version. Okay. And stun him. And continue to slash. Okay, this is going a lot better when I have up-to-date equipment. Okay, that was a wrong charge attack. Keep defaulting to it, like I said. Okay, but going back to the Crimson Behelit. So yeah, Zodd didn't finish them because he knew that the Crimson Behelit is a sign of something far more important. So basically, the Crimson Behelit is able to trigger a world-changing event, also known as the Eclipse here. So it kind of works like that. The Crimson Behelit triggers an event, and the prerequisite for that is deep despair and sorrow of the wielder of the Crimson Behelit. And as you can imagine, Griffith was in kind of a bad spot there. both physically and mentally, and I think he understood that the way he is now, in that moment, he won't be able to make his dream come true, and the driving force behind Griffith was his aim to complete his dream. He was talking about that quite frequently, even with Princess Charlotte. So being in that situation caused him a great deal of despair. So what did Griffith... So the Crimson Behelit sensed that, and I think then the God Hand, either the God Hand itself... what's the word I'm looking for? Not maybe materialized before him, but I think that they prompt, either via the Crimson Behelit or via other means, a proposition for Griffith. But the prerequisite for that is a sacrifice, a substantial sacrifice for the wielder of the Crimson Behelit. Okay, I'll block that. And that is a sacrifice of something that he holds dear. But thing is, the dear part. It can be kinda confusing, because that part does not mean that you have to love something or someone that you sacrifice. The dear part is dear in sense of, like Griffith used his comrades. They were dear for him because they were a part of his tools, which he used to make his dream come true. And that was the prerequisite. It's something important that you need to sacrifice, and that was important during your life. And I think that's the prerequisite that the Crimson Behelit and the God Hand have for the eclipse to take place. And what Griffith sacrificed was the whole band of the Hawk. His tools, his ways of making his dream come true. And the God Hand respected that sacrifice and deemed it worthy while triggering the eclipse. The eclipse itself, as an event, basically makes all current apostles congregate in one place for something that, I don't know if it's formally called like that, or in the manga, but it's known as a feast. I think it was called a feast. And, well, if you either watch the anime or the cutscene, I think you can get the idea why. Because basically the sacrifices that are used in the eclipse are devoured by the present apostles in that moment. Yeah, kinda gruesome. And as you can imagine, those cutscenes were kinda gruesome. Not made for YouTube viewing, definitely. But hey, Berserk is known for those kind of moments. Yeah, for as much I'm not gonna squeeze in another death blow. Let me just try to hit him again. Whoa, didn't saw him coming like that. Anywho, we seem to be surviving a bit better, I was gonna say, famous last words. Needs another death blow, I think. Or two. So, continuing on. But first things first, let's slash Zodd a bit, again. Whoa, that's a lot of damage he takes now from us. Sorry, I need to clear my nose. Give me a second. So at the very least, we're continuing where we left off the previous batch of Endless Eclipse. And it's not that bad. Our stats are substantially better, as you can say. Those highlighted parts are the ones that include our accessories. And the darker ones are our base stats, from what I gather. Okay, a bunch more to use as sacrifice for the amalgamation. So yeah, continuing on. So, when the God Hand approve of your sacrifice, the eclipse triggers. Okay, First, let's pick something. Let's go with bandits. 3 accessories. Hey, why not? And when the sacrifice is approved and everything is gone, like I said, all the apostles are being informed about the eclipse taking place, and they congregate to one place. Everyone goes to one place, and that place seems to be called a sort of temporal junction. And that's because that is a place where the real world and the material world seem to intersect. And that's why Guts was asking that apostle in the previous video, the snake one, where he can find the God Hand, because the God Hand do not exist in the material world itself. Eradicate the thieves? Why not? Actually help. Helply? No, helply, I was gonna say happily. Okay, that bunch is done. Let's make it easier with Frenzy. So, yeah, like I was saying, the God Hand does not exist in the real world, but that does not mean they cannot enter the real world. They actually can. They can leave the immaterial realm and access the material world, but it seems to, in the manga they've done that on a couple of occasions, and they seem to have their power a bit diminished. They're not as powerful as there was in the temporal junction, and that's something interesting actually. At least in my book, that's something interesting. Also, hey, we're quite damaged. I'm gonna heal right about now. Just in case, because you never know. Okay, mission cleared. Yeah, so after that plane, the temporal junction is formed, and the Crimson Beheaded is activated due to the despair of the owner. The owner is then confronted by the God Hand and asked if he's willing to sacrifice something that is dear to him. And as you can imagine, from what has happened, Griffith kinda was on board with that sacrifice, at least in that moment. And after that, the eclipse fully takes place, basically. Everyone then is, including the sacrifices, are transported into the junction, the immaterial plane, and the apostles begin their feast. So while they're devouring the sacrifices, the one that triggered the eclipse is then having his whole body basically reformed. And the body is completed basically when the sacrifices has ended, or is in the ending part, unless the one that triggers the eclipse has another part or fate in mind for some of those sacrifices. And as we saw, Griffith kinda had something else in mind for Casca and Guts both. Basically, he kinda raped Casca while Guts was forced to watch it. So yeah, Griffith kinda is a bastard here. But we knew that from the start, that he's not a good guy. Let's be honest. He showed that to us on multiple occasions during conversations with Charlotte and other moments. So, it's kinda hard also talking while maneuvering and slashing enemies. So, please, don't hold it against me that I'm stuttering or frequently coming back with my words to topics we visited. This will take some time getting used to. Let's hurry up here. Do not fail a mission. Okay, this will end quickly. Oh, it ended even before we did the blow. Nice. So, when the bearer of the Behelit accepted the sacrifice... Why shouldn't you guys actually run? accepted the sacrifice and accepted the basically kinship with the god hand, because he, I think either they say or he knows that he will basically take a place in the god hand, or take a place as a demon or an apostle in the very least, because that's what the sacrifices are for. And the funny thing is, the decision seems to be, the wording here will kind of be important, not fated per se, but from the point of God hand, especially from Void's point of view, the decision that the bearer of the Crimson Behelit will pick is actually predetermined. They knew that Griffith will accept their kinship, he will provide a sacrifice. They knew, because that's kind of a returning motive in the Berserk universe. The, how do they call it here? Casuality? Or something like that. It basically means everything is predetermined and fate has its course. And the existence of something as predetermined fate. It's an important thing in Berserk universe, and it's a kinda delicate topic, because we had something like the... What was his name? There was an entity that didn't... Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That didn't make it into the manga itself, but was part of a... not compilation, was part of a chapter released, but didn't make it later in the reissues, I think, or as released as a volume and didn't make it as a chapter, I don't remember. And that's the... I don't remember its whole name, but it's basically above the god hand. It's sort of like a god or pseudo-god looking for the Berserk universe, and from what I remember reading wikis and interviews, Miura kinda was on the fence, because he thought that having a godlike entity will diminish the meaning of the story in the Berserk. Maybe he was right with that, but you can still read that chapter. What was that being called? Can't seem to remember right now. Zodd again? Oh, come on, Zodd. Anywho, so... yeah, the decision seems to be, at least from the point of the god hand, predetermined. But the way it is commenced is that they wait for the being that initiated the eclipse for his declaration of I sacrifice. And when he makes that grand declaration, the feast starts. So, well, during that time, the being is basically being, like I said, remade as a demon, as a part of the god hand, and during that process, everyone involved in the eclipse, those sacrifices, are being targeted and devoured by the apostles, unless there is another plan for them, which we saw with Gods and Casca. But also, they, and from what I remember, the god hand is the source of that, everyone acquires a brand, called a brand of sacrifice. And... so I don't jump the gun here. I'm wondering now where to go now, because I don't want to jump the gun with the events I'm talking about. So yeah, let's take it from the top again. So the feasting begins, and while the sacrifices are being devoured, the one that triggered the eclipse is overcome with sensations from that devouring, from the apostles, from the slaughter, and is from those sensations, from those emotions, he is being remade in a new form, in a form more proper to join the god hand. So after that remaking or rebirth is completed, the event is basically being brought to the end, to a close, unless, like I said, the initiator has something else in mind for some of the sacrifices, like we saw with Gods and Casca. Oh, another type of artifact. And then, well, then he ends the event with what he has predetermined. In Griffith's case... Oh, okay. Femto mercenary outfit unlocked, okay. In Griffith's case, his introduction into the God Hand was alluded in a prophecy called I think it's called, the Holy Sea prophecy or something like that. We still have time for another one. You have 40 minutes in. Sorry, needed to clear my throat. Let's go with this. It gives materials and accessories. Let's try it. So the prophecy basically said something like the appearance of something called the Red Lake. And from what I remember, and I have some notes here, when the sun dies 5 times, and the Red Lake appears, this heralds the birth of an angel that will bring an end to an age of darkness. So this kinda has meaning in the event that I was mixing up with the Eclipse, the one that merged the worlds together, basically. And we'll talk about that when that happens, so you just need to wait a bit for that one, regrettably. Sorry, I would jump the gun. And like I said, Zodd, basically in his first encounter with our boys, recognized the importance of Griffith's Behelit, because a Crimson Behelit appears, I think it was stated, once every 1,000 years or so. It's not like a normal Behelit, and the Crimson Behelit signifies a new member of the God Hand, I think. I think there wasn't any Crimson Behelits that didn't end in a God Hand inoculation. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's get those guys defeated. Oh, and let's change to the cannon hand and use it. This has a nice AoE on it. Let's maybe... we took a wrong turn here. Let's try and charge up our frenzy. And now we'll go in and charge a death blow, I think. Should be the best use now. And we'll slash it to get rid of the archer captains. At least 2 of them, I think. Yeah, and there's a 3rd one left. At least that seems so, like, from the map. Anywho. Oh, we actually poked him. Interesting. Anywho, so after they were transported to the Temporal Rift, and Guts, Griffith and the Band of the Falcon, and the whole shtick was taking place, Zodd remained. I think he remained at the portal, or at the entering to the junction. Oh, Adan again. And from what I remember, the Skeleton Knight appeared then, and he was being held up by Zodd, but the thing is, here is another problem. Zodd himself stated that he, even though he is an apostle, he is not interested in the feast. So that means that it's not either that's not a higher order that every apostle must take place in the sacrifice, in the feast, or there was a additional order for Zodd to take guard at the entrance to the Temporal Rift, because the God Hand knew that Skull Knight will try to foil the plans, because basically Skull Knight is kinda like a bit like Guts here, in the sense that he basically declared a war against the God Hand, and he's trying to foil all their plans. Why? I don't think we actually know that from the manga. I don't think they touch on the origins of the Skull Knight and why he does that. There are multiple theories on why he does that and who he really is and what are his origins. And there are some good evidence to some of those theories, but I think I'll leave that for you to read, because that will take a long time to iterate through all of them. And if you have some of your theories, like I said, feel free to post them. They're quite interesting, most of them. So anywho, yeah, Zodd declared that he was not interested in the feast itself. So that kinda is interesting, that even though the God Hand has seniority on above every apostle, it does not seem that their orders are, you know, like the Alpha and Omega. There must be done. Or maybe they did have separate orders for Zodd, because he seems to be the most battle-orientated of all the apostles. Or maybe the most senior ancient one, or maybe the one with the most success. Don't know about that. So, after that, basically the God Hand separated Griffith from the rest. And then we had kinda like biblical moments, because the God Hand was tempting Griffith, showing him the reality, showing him the possible future and everything, and trying to basically get him on their side, get him to do the sacrifice. And do it, he did it. He did. And it went badly for everyone. Let me just end those guys here. And thing is about that casuality or the fate part. This is one time where it kinda looks, oh okay, escort. It kinda looks iffy, because even though, according to Void, they knew that he would join, he would do that, they did rely on Griffith's broken state, both mentally and physically. So, if he was so sure he would do that, why did they rely on him being in a state that he is, to put forth the sacrifice and become the 5th member? So that's kinda interesting. Maybe that's why Void knew perfectly that he was gonna accept that, because he was in a state that didn't allow him to reject the offer. That's one way to look at it. That's definitely one way to look at it. Okay, let's move with our boys, let's move. I hate escort missions. I think everyone hates escort missions. Okay, but this is looking good. Anywho. So, like I said, and I think I've circled around multiple times about the whole sacrifice and eclipse. After that is done, and Griffith emerges as the newly created member of the God Hand Femto, he kinda goes batshit crazy, and you know, I told what he did to Casca already. And God's being captured by one apostle, trying to break free, loses his arm and loses his eye. And now we're basically in the state we are here during the story. And also, good God, man, can't you not simply run past them? Do you need to pick a fight with them? Come on. Just go where you have to, won't you? Okay, so with everyone slaughtered, Casca crazy, and Guts losing his appendages, they're actually saved from, clear death by the Skull Knight. The Skull Knight defeated Zodd, and he rescued Guts and Casca. Fortunately, things happened, and during that time, some knights that were in the vicinity, in the material realm, discover the Red Lake. The Red Lake that was in the prophecy is basically because the whole band of the Hawk members that were eaten, or maybe sacrificed, as the God Hand would say, to the apostles, have their bodies don't know if washed up or thrown out of the immaterial realm, precisely in the lake that they were when the sacrifice initiated. And some band of knights found them, and they thought that was part of the Holy See prophecy, at least the Crimson Lake part of it. This appears not to be wholly made up, as this is the beginning of quite a few interesting events in the universe, you know. Also during that, I don't know if that was in a cutscene or not, some maybe later important characters are being notified about what happened and take action now. You probably remember, some of you that read the manga, characters like Flora, the mage, and I think besides Flora there was someone else. Let me check if I can concentrate and say who it is. Just first let me dispose of those guys. And I don't know if the microphone picked that up, but I probably dropped something from my desk. I'll check that a bit later. And I probably won't finish talking about everything in this video, just like I won't finish the Eclipse in this video, at least this part of it, so we'll probably talk about the rest in the next one. Whoa, this is kinda hard, juggling those enemies, action combat and talking coherently about something. As you can hear, it's not going that well as I wanted, basically, because I have been circling around some events a couple of times. I don't think I counted at least 4 or 5 times. I was talking about the sacrifice, the death of the band. Yeah. So let me check how long are we with the recording, and then I will see if we need to end and talk about some stuff in the next one. Next layer. So will there be a shop here, or... Well, let's see on this screen. Should I end it? Yeah, unfortunately we need to end this here, and I will continue in the next one. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, and bye-bye. See ya!